The Alien Academy gym was loud with laughter. It always was. Cadets from across the galaxy came here to train, to test their bodies, and to show off. For most, gym class was not serious. It was just easy drills, simple weights, running tracks, and combat exercises that no one ever failed. Every week, the same pattern repeated. The larger reptilian cadets flexed their claws and lifted heavy weights to impress each other. The insectoid species showed off their multiple limbs, climbing the training walls with speed. Even the smaller bird-like students flapped their wings to glide through obstacle courses, laughing as they teased the slower ones. And then there were the humans. The humans were always at the bottom. They were smaller than most of the other cadets, softer in appearance, with skin that looked fragile compared to scales, shells, or armored feathers. They had no claws, no fangs, no wings. No one feared them. In fact, the gym class had turned the humans into a running joke. Careful, don't push too hard. The human might break a bone. One insectoid cadet chirped. Maybe they can win in sleeping contest. Another reptilian hissed, his long tongue flicking in mockery. The group laughed loudly, and the human cadet in the corner kept his head down, struggling to finish a simple set of push-ups. The instructor, an old gray-skinned alien with ridged horns, never stopped the mocking. He didn't encourage it, but he didn't stop it either. In his mind, the cadets needed to learn through experience. And besides, humans had never impressed him before. That morning, as the class gathered, the laughter was louder than usual. The bird-like cadets had made a game out of lifting the smallest human off the ground with their wings, passing him back and forth like a toy. The human tried to protest, but his voice was lost in the storm of laughter. Then, suddenly, the instructor blew his whistle. The sound cut through the noise, sharp and commanding. All eyes turned to him. "Enough," he barked. His voice carried authority, and even the loudest cadets silenced themselves. He looked around the room slowly, letting the silence grow heavy. "Today will be different," he said at last. "Today, a new cadet joins this class." At once, the gym filled with whispers. New cadets were rare at this stage of training. Most students had been here for months, some for years. A new one meant something unusual. The reptilians muttered among themselves. Probably another weakling. The insectoids clicked their mandibles in amusement. Maybe another soft human to laugh at. But then the instructor added something that froze the room for a moment. "He comes from Earth." The silence broke into loud laughter. "Earth," one cadet shouted. "That mudball." "Deathworld, they call it," another sneered. "Only in human stories." Deathworlder. A bird-like student cackled. "If their world is so dangerous, why are they so weak here?" The laughter echoed through the high ceilings of the gym. Cadets slapped each other's backs, some pretending to faint dramatically at the thought of a dangerous human. The joke spread quickly. "Deathworlder. The human Deathworlder is coming." But not all were laughing. A few of the older cadets exchanged glances. They had heard rumors, stories told in mess halls, whispers in the dorms. Earth, they said, was not like other planets. It was a place where the air itself changed moods, where storms could destroy cities, where creatures with sharp teeth and stronger muscles hunted humans daily. Some stories said humans fought wars not once in a century, but every generation. The instructor did not smile. He simply said, "You will see for yourselves." The room quieted slightly, though chuckles still passed between the younger students. They were ready to laugh at whoever walked through the door. Then the gym doors opened. At first, no one breathed. A single human walked in. He wasn't large. He wasn't covered in armor or carrying weapons. He looked almost ordinary. But there was something different about him. His eyes. They were calm, steady, and sharp, eyes that did not dart nervously like the other humans. Eyes that did not look down in shame. He scanned the room slowly, and for a moment, every cadet felt those eyes on them. A cold shiver ran down their spines, though none of them understood why. The laughter stopped. The human walked to the center of the gym without hesitation. His steps were steady, his posture relaxed, but every movement felt deliberate, controlled. He did not look like prey. He looked like someone who had seen things others had not. The instructor nodded slightly, as if confirming something to himself. "Cadets," he said, "meet your new classmate. From Earth." No one spoke. The reptilian who had laughed the loudest earlier now shifted uncomfortably, his tail flicking nervously against the floor. The insectoids clicked their mandibles softly, but no words came out. The human's calm gaze swept the room again. He said nothing. He didn't need to. And in that silence, the cadets felt the strangest thing. For the first time, gym class didn't feel like a joke anymore. It felt like the beginning of something they didn't yet understand. The gym was quiet after the new human arrived. The silence felt strange, almost heavy. For so long, laughter and mockery had filled the room, but now every cadet watched the newcomer with uneasy eyes. The instructor clapped his hands. "Enough staring. Training begins now. Strength test." This was the first exercise of the day, a tradition in gym class. Cadets had to lift weighted gravity spheres, smooth, metal orbs that grew heavier as the dial was turned. Most species could handle a fair weight, but even they strained after a few lifts. Humans had always been the weakest. The reptilian cadets were eager to go first. One stepped forward, muscles rippling under his scaled skin. With a grunt, he lifted a large sphere above his head, holding it proudly. His classmates hissed in approval. "Good," the instructor said flatly. "Next." One by one, cadets from different species tried. The insectoids used their forearms to hoist the weights. The bird-like students struggled more, but managed enough to save face. Each performance brought cheers or laughter from their friends. Then it was the human's turn. Not the new one, but the older human who had been mocked earlier that morning. He stepped forward nervously, hands shaking. He tried lifting a medium-sized sphere, but it slipped from his grip after a few seconds and clanged to the floor. The aliens roared with laughter. "Pathetic," one shouted. "Careful, he'll break his arm," another joked. The instructor did not stop them. He only pointed to the side. Next. Finally, it was the new human's turn. The room grew quiet again. Everyone wanted to see him fail. They wanted proof that all humans were weak. The reptilians crossed their arms, smirking. The insectoids clicked their mandibles in anticipation. The new human walked forward calmly. He didn't stretch, didn't hesitate, didn't look nervous. He placed his hands on the largest gravity sphere, the one few aliens even tried. "Wait," one cadet began, laughing. "He'll crush himself." But the laughter died quickly. The human bent his knees, gripped the orb, and in one smooth motion lifted it. His muscles tensed, but his face stayed calm. He raised it higher, until the heavy sphere rested above his shoulders. Then, to everyone's shock, he pressed it upward, holding it high above his head. The room was silent. No one laughed. No one cheered. They only stared. The reptilian who had lifted earlier narrowed his eyes. "Beginner's luck," he muttered. The human lowered the sphere gently, without dropping it, and looked at the instructor. "What's next?" His voice was calm, steady. The instructor's ridged brows lifted slightly. He did not smile, but his eyes gleamed with interest. "Increase weight," he ordered. Another cadet hurried forward to turn the dial. The sphere grew heavier, humming as the artificial gravity intensified. Most aliens couldn't lift it at this level. The human gripped it again. His arms flexed, his legs steadied, and slowly, deliberately, he lifted it once more. The strain showed now, but he kept control, pressing it above his head until the sphere was steady in the air. The silence broke. This time, the cadets didn't laugh. They gasped. "Impossible," whispered one insectoid. "No one lifts that weight." A bird-like cadet muttered, feathers ruffling nervously. The human set the sphere down gently, as if it weighed nothing. He straightened, rolled his shoulders once, and looked around the room. His eyes were calm, but sharp, as if challenging anyone to step forward. The reptilian who had mocked him earlier bared his teeth. "Try lifting two at once," he hissed, hoping to see failure. The instructor gave a sharp nod. "Do it." The cadets leaned forward eagerly. No one had ever attempted two spheres. It was considered pointless, reckless even. But the human didn't argue. He simply walked forward, placed one hand on each of the smaller gravity spheres, and pulled them up. His arms strained, but he did not stop. Slowly, he stood tall, holding one in each hand. His chest rose and fell with steady breaths. The gym erupted with noise, not laughter this time, but shouts of disbelief. Some cadets backed away, as if what they were seeing was unnatural. The instructor blew his whistle. Silence returned instantly. His eyes stayed on the human for a long moment. Then he nodded. Enough. Place them down. The human obeyed, lowering the spheres carefully to the ground. He did not stumble, did not collapse. He stood straight, calm as before, and spoke in the same quiet tone. What's next? The question sent a ripple through the cadets. It wasn't just that he had succeeded. It was the way he asked for more, as if none of this had been a challenge. The reptilians were no longer smirking. The insectoids avoided his gaze. Even the bird-like students, always quick to mock, said nothing. For the first time, they weren't sure if this new human was prey or predator. The instructor finally spoke, his voice low but firm. Running track. High gravity setting. Let us see how long you last. The cadets exchanged uneasy glances. This was the endurance test, the one that crushed even the strongest after a few laps. Surely now the human would reach his limit. Surely now they would see weakness. The new human stepped onto the track, calm as ever. He adjusted his footing, waiting for the signal. The instructor raised his whistle, his eyes still locked on the human. For the first time, there was no laughter, no joking, no whispers of mockery. Only silence. Heavy, expectant silence. The whistle blew. The test had begun. The whistle cut through the air, and the running track roared to life. The ground beneath the cadets shimmered faintly as the gravity field increased, pressing down on their bodies like invisible weights. Most species could only handle a few laps before collapsing. The reptilian cadets stepped onto the track first, their muscles flexing against the heavy pull. They moved fast, claws scraping against the floor as they tried to show off their strength. Behind them, the insectoids scuttled forward, their multiple legs giving them speed at the cost of quick exhaustion. The bird-like cadets struggled almost instantly. Their hollow bones were light under normal gravity, but here every step seemed to drag them into the floor. The new human stepped forward last. His movements were steady, unhurried, almost casual. He adjusted his stance, lowered his head slightly, and began to run. At first, the alien smirked. He's starting too slow, one whispered. He won't last. But minutes passed, and the smirks faded. The reptilians were the first to slow down, their breathing heavy, tails dragging behind them as the gravity pressed harder. One stumbled after the third lap, his legs trembling before he fell to the ground. He cursed, unable to rise. The insectoids kept going longer, their many limbs working in rhythm, but by the fifth lap, even they faltered. Their joints creaked under the pressure, and one collapsed with a sharp hiss. The bird-like cadets barely managed 2 laps before falling to their knees, wings hanging uselessly at their sides. Their light bodies simply weren't built for such crushing weight. And yet, the human kept running. His pace was steady, his breathing calm. He didn't sprint, didn't struggle, didn't gasp for air like the others. His steps landed in a smooth rhythm, left, right, as if the gravity meant nothing. By the 7th lap, he was alone. The fallen cadets lay on the side, some clutching at their chests, others groaning in exhaustion. They could only watch as the human continued, his body moving with the same calm control as when he had started. Whispers spread across the gym. How is he still moving? He should have collapsed already. No one lasts this long. The instructor's eyes narrowed. He had seen endurance before, but never like this. The human's face showed no pain, no panic. Only focus. By the 10th lap, the silence in the gym was heavy. Every cadet, even those who mocked the loudest before, now stared with wide eyes. The sound of his footsteps echoed like a drumbeat. Left, right, left, right. Unstoppable. One reptilian muttered bitterly, "He's not normal." An insectoid clicked his mandibles nervously. Maybe the stories are true. Maybe Earth really is a death world. The human ran another lap, then another. His shirt clung to his body with sweat, but his movements never slowed. His heart rate, if anyone had measured, would have been steady, too steady. Finally, after the 15th lap, the instructor blew his whistle. Enough. The track powered down. The heavy gravity eased, and the pressure lifted from the room. Most cadets gasped in relief, though they hadn't been running. Their bodies ached just from watching. The human slowed, then stopped. He did not collapse. He did not even bend over for breath. He stood tall, chest rising and falling in calm rhythm. His eyes scanned the room, meeting the gaze of every cadet who had mocked him before. Not a word passed his lips. The silence was worse than words. The instructor stepped forward, his expression unreadable. "You lasted longer than any cadet in this academy," he said quietly. His voice carried weight, even in its calmness. "But strength and endurance are not everything. Let us see if you can fight." The words sent a ripple through the room. The reptilians perked up, their pride returning. Combat was their specialty. "Yes," one hissed, eyes gleaming. "Let's see if he can fight without claws." The insectoids clicked eagerly. "Let's see him against 4 arms." The bird-like cadets spread their wings slightly, feathers ruffled with anticipation. The laughter didn't return, not fully, but there was a cruel excitement in the air again. The human said nothing. He only stepped forward when the instructor pointed to the sparring ring. The reptilian cadet, who had mocked the loudest earlier, cracked his knuckles and climbed in. His scales shimmered under the lights, and his tail lashed the ground. He was larger, stronger, and built to fight. He grinned, showing sharp teeth. Finally, he growled, "Let's see what the Deathworlder can do." The human's eyes met his, calm and cold. He raised his fists slowly, settling into a stance. His movements were minimal, precise, no wasted energy. The instructor raised his hand. "Begin." The reptilian lunged forward with a roar, claws flashing through the air. The watching cadets leaned in, eager to see the human torn apart. But then it happened. The human moved. He didn't block. He didn't stumble. He slipped sideways with speed too fast for their eyes to follow. His fist snapped out, striking the reptilian in the side. The sound was sharp, like a whip crack. The reptilian staggered, eyes wide. He tried again, swinging with claws, but the human ducked under the strike, pivoted, and drove his elbow into the reptilian's chest. The larger cadet flew back, crashing to the mat with a heavy thud. The room went silent. The reptilian groaned, stunned, unable to rise. The human stood still, breathing calm, fists lowered. His eyes scanned the room again, quiet, steady, unshaken. The instructor's whistle blew. Next, every cadet shivered. The reptilian cadet lay groaning on the mat, his scaled chest rising and falling with pain. He had charged with claws, size, and pride, and had been thrown aside in seconds. The gym was silent, so silent that the hiss of the ventilation system seemed loud. The instructor's whistle still echoed in the ears of every cadet. "Next," he said, his voice steady, almost casual. But everyone felt the tension behind the word. Another cadet stepped forward, this time an insectoid. His 4 arms flexed, sharp clawed fingers twitching with anticipation. He clicked his mandibles together in anger. "That was luck," he hissed. "You will not be lucky again, Deathworlder." The human said nothing. He simply stepped back into the center of the sparring ring. His stance was calm, balanced, fists loose but ready. His eyes, steady and unblinking, locked on his opponent. The whistle blew. The insectoid lunged, arms slashing in every direction. The air filled with claw strikes, fast and furious. Any normal fighter would have been overwhelmed instantly. But the human was not normal. He bent low under one strike, sidestepped another, and his hand shot forward. A sharp jab to the insectoid's joint. Crack. The alien hissed, one arm dropping uselessly. Before he could react, the human pivoted, driving a kick into his chest. The insectoid staggered back, clicking in shock, mandibles flaring. But the human did not stop. He closed the distance with speed, slipping past the flailing claws. His fist struck the alien's midsection once, twice, 3 times, precise, controlled, devastating. The insectoid collapsed to his knees, gasping for air. The whistle blew again. Next, the cadets shifted uneasily. No one rushed forward this time. The reptilian had been stronger, the insectoid faster, and both had fallen. The bird-like students exchanged nervous glances, their feathers bristling. Finally, one of them stepped up, wings spreading wide. "I'll crush him," he spat, trying to sound confident. The bird cadet was tall, thin, his arms wiry but strong. He circled the human, flapping his wings to kick up gusts of wind. Then, with a sudden leap, he soared upward, coming down with a powerful kick aimed at the human's head. The human tilted his head slightly. The kick missed. Before the bird cadet could land, the human's hand shot out, grabbing his leg midair. With a twist and a pull, he slammed the winged cadet to the mat. The impact echoed through the gym like thunder. The bird cadet didn't get up. The gym grew colder. The watching cadets shifted uncomfortably, some whispering in disbelief. He beat 3 different species. With no claws, no wings, no armor. Deathworlder. The word spread like a shiver. But the instructor wasn't finished. His eyes glowed with something close to excitement. He raised his hand. 3 at once. The cadets gasped. No one expected this. Even among the strongest, 3-on-1 matches were brutal. The instructor's gaze swept the room.
You. In.
He pointed at a reptilian, an insectoid, and a bird-like cadet. Reluctantly, they stepped forward, each looking more nervous than confident. The human adjusted his stance. No fear showed on his face. The whistle blew. They attacked at once. The reptilian charged straight in, claws slashing. The insectoid came from the left, arms swinging. The bird cadet leapt overhead, wings spread wide. The human moved. He ducked under the reptilian's first strike, caught the insectoid's arm, and twisted. Crack. The insectoid screamed, dropping. The reptilian swung again, but the human spun, driving his elbow into the alien's jaw. The reptilian stumbled back, dazed. The bird cadet dove from above, but the human was ready. He leapt, higher than anyone thought possible under the gravity, and met him midair with a punch to the chest. The bird cadet crashed to the mat, gasping for breath. In less than a minute, all 3 were down. The gym was dead silent. Not even whispers now. Only the sound of heavy breathing, groans from the defeated, and the calm, steady steps of the human as he walked back to the center of the ring. He did not gloat. He did not smile. He simply stood, waiting, his eyes sharp and unreadable. The instructor's whistle echoed once more. He looked at the cadets, his ridged face serious. Enough. No one protested. He stepped closer to the human, studying him carefully. Strength, endurance, combat. His voice was low, but it carried across the room. You have shown them all. The cadets lowered their eyes. Not one dared to laugh anymore. The word Deathworlder no longer sounded like a joke. It sounded like a warning. But the instructor was not finished. His gaze turned cold, his voice harder. Next session, survival course. The word struck the cadets like a blow. Even the strongest shifted uneasily. The survival course was no game. It simulated hostile planets, crushing gravity, toxic gas, robotic predators. Many cadets barely survived it. Some failed completely. A murmur spread through the gym. He won't last. No one finishes the course. Not even a Deathworlder. But as their eyes turned back to the human, doubt twisted in their chests. His calm gaze had not changed since the moment he walked through the gym doors. The human finally spoke, his voice quiet but clear. When do we begin? The next day, the cadets gathered at the edge of the survival arena. Unlike the gym, the arena was a vast chamber filled with shifting platforms, pools of toxic gas, and shadows where robotic predators waited. The walls glowed with strange lights, and the floor hummed with hidden machinery. Every cadet knew the arena's reputation. It wasn't just training, it was a test of survival instincts. Many cadets had failed here. A few had barely crawled out alive. The instructor stood at the entrance, his ridged face stern. This is the death course. Gravity shifts, poison air, machines that hunt. You will face it all. Some of you will fall. That is expected. His voice lowered, heavy with warning. But today, you will see what survival means. The cadets shifted nervously. Their eyes flicked toward the new human. Some still whispered mockery, but their voices were thin, uncertain. He won't last a minute. Robots will tear him apart. Deathworlder, he'll finally die. The human stepped forward calmly. He wore no special armor, carried no weapon, only the training uniform like everyone else. His eyes scanned the arena, steady and sharp. The instructor raised his hand. Begin. The gates opened. At once, chaos exploded inside. The reptilian cadets charged first, their claws scraping against the stone as they leapt across the platforms. But the floor shifted suddenly, gravity doubling without warning. 2 of them collapsed, pinned to the ground, unable to rise. The insectoids scuttled fast, their many legs carrying them over the rocks until jets of toxic gas hissed from the floor. They coughed, mandibles clicking in panic, scrambling to escape the deadly mist. The bird-like cadets tried to take flight, wings flapping hard. But the arena's shifting gravity slammed them back down, wings snapping painfully as they cried out. And then came the predators. Metal beasts crawled from the shadows, wolf-like machines with glowing red eyes and teeth made of steel. They rushed forward, faster than any organic creature, their claws sparking against the ground. The cadets screamed. One reptilian was dragged down instantly, his scales scraping against the floor as the machine pinned him. An insectoid was caught by the leg, pulled into the gas clouds. The bird cadets flailed helplessly, trying to escape. Amid the chaos, the human moved. Not rushing, not panicking, moving with calm precision. When the gravity shifted, he adjusted his steps, lowering his stance, controlling his breath. Where the gas hissed, he held his breath, sliding low and fast beneath the deadly clouds. When the robotic predators lunged, he didn't run, he attacked. The first machine leapt at him, steel jaws snapping. The human twisted aside, grabbed a loose piece of rock, and smashed it into the predator's sensor eye. Sparks burst. The machine shrieked in a metallic howl and collapsed. The watching cadets froze. He wasn't just surviving. He was fighting back. Another machine charged. The human ducked under its strike, leapt onto its back, and wrapped his arms around its neck. With a sharp pull, he ripped out the exposed wiring, and the predator crashed lifelessly to the floor. The gym had seen strength. The track had shown endurance. The sparring ring had revealed skill. But here in the arena, they saw something else. Instinct. Raw survival. The human didn't just dodge danger, he used it. When gravity shifted, he slammed a machine into the ground harder. When toxic gas hissed, he kicked another cadet free, dragging him out before the poison reached his lungs. One bird-like cadet had been caught under falling rubble, his wing pinned. He screamed in terror as a machine approached. Before anyone else could react, the human sprinted across the broken ground, lifted the rubble with a grunt, and pulled him free. Then, with one swift motion, he hurled the rock at the predator, crushing its head. The bird cadet stared up at him, trembling. Why did you save me?" The human's eyes were calm, his voice quiet. "Because that's what we do." The arena grew deadlier. The platforms shifted, rising and falling. More gas clouds filled the air. The predators came in larger numbers, red eyes glowing in the dark. One by one, the alien cadets collapsed. Some were dragged away by the machines. Others fainted in the gas, coughing and choking. Only a few remained standing. And at the center of it all was the human, moving like he belonged there, like the arena itself was just another day on Earth. Finally, the siren blared. The test ended. The machines froze, the gas vents shut down, and the gravity returned to normal. The gates reopened. The survivors stumbled out, gasping, limping, some carried by others. The human walked out last, calm as ever, his uniform torn, his skin scraped, but his steps steady and controlled. The instructor waited at the exit. His eyes scanned the cadets, most broken and beaten, then fixed on the human. For a moment, the silence stretched long and heavy. Then he spoke. "Now you understand." The surviving cadets lowered their eyes, shame burning in their faces. The laughter of the gym seemed a lifetime ago. None of them would dare mock humans again. The instructor's voice deepened, echoing through the chamber. Earth is not legend. Earth is not weakness. Earth is survival. The humans are children of storms, predators, poison, and war. They are Deathworlders. And today you saw why. The cadets turned their eyes toward the human. Some were fearful. Some were respectful. But none laughed. The human simply looked back, his gaze steady, and whispered a single line that froze them all. This was only training. The arena doors opened slowly, releasing the students back into the wide training hall. Their bodies were bruised, their breathing ragged, and their minds shaken by the harshness of the survival course. The robotic predators had left dents in their armor, the toxic gas had burned their lungs, and the unstable gravity still lingered in their bones. Yet one figure stood tall, unshaken, his movements calm and steady as if he had just taken a casual walk. It was the human. Every eye turned toward him. Moments ago, they had all laughed at him in gym class. They mocked his smaller frame, his fragile-looking skin, his lack of claws or fangs. Now, those same aliens could barely stand, while he remained untouched, his chest rising and falling in perfect rhythm. The instructor stepped forward, his heavy boots echoing on the metal floor. His sharp eyes swept across the exhausted class before stopping on the human. Slowly, a small but knowing smile spread across his face. "Now you all understand," the instructor said, his voice deep and commanding. "This is why humans are feared. This is why they are respected. You thought of them as weak because they look soft, but humanity comes from a world that tried to kill them every single day. Their oceans rage with storms, their skies strike with lightning, their forests crawl with predators. They did not survive despite their world. They survived because of it." The room was silent. None of the alien students dared laugh anymore. Some looked down in shame. Others looked at the human with wide, cautious eyes. The reptilian cadet, who had once mocked him most loudly, stepped forward. His scales were chipped, his chest armor cracked from the survival course. He bowed his head, his voice quiet but sincere. "I was wrong," he said. "You are stronger than I imagined. Stronger than any of us." The insectoid cadet followed, lowering all four of her arms in a respectful gesture. "We mocked you because we feared what we did not understand. But now we see. You are different, and you are not to be underestimated." One by one, the other cadets offered their respect. Some bowed. Some placed their fists against their chests. The hall that once rang with laughter now echoed with solemn silence. The human remained still, his face calm. He had not come to humiliate anyone. He had not come to prove himself with pride. He simply trained, survived, and helped others when they were in danger. That was his nature. Finally, he spoke, his voice quiet but sharp enough to cut through the silence. "You think this was impressive? This was only a gym class. A test. Controlled conditions." His eyes moved across the room, locking with each of his classmates. Out there, beyond this academy, the galaxy does not give controlled conditions. There are no instructors. There are no rules. Out there, it is worse. Much worse. The words hung in the air like a storm cloud. Some cadets shivered. Others clenched their fists, imagining what kind of world could create a human like him. The instructor nodded firmly. "Remember this lesson well. Laughter will not save you. Pride will not save you. In the end, only those who adapt, who endure, who refuse to give up, will survive." He looked once more at the human and gave a rare sign of respect, a sharp salute. Class dismissed. The cadets filed out of the training hall, their bodies weak, but their minds alive with new thoughts. None of them laughed anymore. Instead, They whispered in hushed tones. Deathworlder, from Earth. Not weak at all. The legend of the human would spread far beyond the academy. Stories of the Deathworlder who conquered the survival course, who carried others to safety, who turned mockery into silence, would ripple through the barracks, then through the ships, and then through the galaxy itself. As the lights dimmed in the hall, the human lingered for a moment alone. He looked up at the ceiling, as if seeing beyond the academy, beyond the stars themselves. His face remained calm, but his eyes burned with something deeper, not pride, not arrogance, but a quiet warning. Because he knew what his classmates did not yet understand. This was only training. This was only the beginning. Out there in the galaxy, far worse challenges awaited. And when those came, humanity would be ready. The human turned, walking out of the hall with steady steps, his shadow stretching long across the polished floor. Behind him, the echoes of laughter were gone forever, replaced by something heavier, something sharper, respect and fear.